already. The first couple weeks have been fantastic, and I'm just super excited about what's coming. Last week, Javon talked to us about our thoughts, and I got to play kind of assistant and scribe, and so we may lift some of those up onto the wall as needed. We've got some notes, and I'll take some more notes. But we're here to help us think about our thinking. It's easy to not think about our thinking and to get programmed into just living and forgetting that we can actually stop and take a moment and look outside of ourselves and reflect on, why do I think that way, and where do those thoughts come from, and what has impacted or affected or even infected by thoughts. I have friends in recovery. They talk about stinking thinking, right? Or negative thoughts, or they call it the little itty-bitty, committee that lives inside of our head that sometimes has a whole conversation going on that seems to lead us down the road towards destruction, negativity, thinking negatively, and then as we think, so goeth we kind of live, and that's what Javon's here to help lead us in. And so I think that's enough of an intro.
I love that.
Javon, we are all yours. Are you recording this too?
I'm recording it.
Okay, good. We're live, people.
Hey, I'm recording this for a couple reasons. One, I'm always interested in the things that I say because I think I'm great. And
and handsome.
Handsome. And I know that because my wife tells me so. So another reason I'm recording this is that I've literally been studying this stuff in submersed my life for 10 years. And I was backwards, upside down, and someone that you should not listen to 10 years ago, in my opinion. But if somebody works on something for 10 years and then they put together a little talk, please consider it. But the problem with that, if you study that much on anything, that person is likely to give you too much information to assimilate in one time. So, if that's the case and you like this talk via MP3, I can get it to you. That's what this is for.
Okay.
Can you get one from last Sunday?
I didn't do it last Sunday, but we're going to recap this Sunday.
Yeah.
Here's the deal today, is that one, life is a metaphor. God, the way that we describe God, it's a metaphor. And by metaphor, what that means is it's really a story that we're telling about it. You are like a warrior, and we say things like that, and you okay, I'm going to go out and fight hard for something I want. Or, man, it was a tornado today. You weren't really in a tornado, but you can get a picture of how today was. Wow, it's all up in the air. I didn't really know what was going on. Things were coming at me from different directions. It was a big mess, whatever it was. And that's the best we can do with God. It's really the best we can do with life is just put a story on it. It helps us to describe it better and understand things that are understandable, at least on this side of passing into eternity. So with that, knowing that life is a metaphor, your life changes as you change your metaphor. And so today we're going to be talking about how to change your metaphor a little bit, how to change your story, maybe to put it in a little bit easier way. And the real focus of today is breaking the wheel of misfortune. We talked a lot about last week of having this wheel of misfortune that we get in, right? Our crazy, stinking thoughts creating these beliefs that create these actions in our life that become habits and results that solidify the beliefs once again. And we're going to go through that a little bit. But here's an example for my life. About 10 years ago, I went through this thing called Breakthrough. It's a 4-day leadership workshop, and really cool. And I had this belief in my mind. I was a pastor at the time. I had a belief that it was my job to fix people. It was God anointed me as a pastor to fix you. And along with that belief came a huge responsibility of I have to be everything that you need me to be. And I can't do anything that is bad or even do anything that looks bad, because if you see it, you'll do it, and then your life will be horrible, and it's my fault.
It'll be your fault, yeah.
It's my fault, right?
Wow.
So, I can't walk into a bar, I can't have a drink, I can't even have a girlfriend because people will think I'm doing bad stuff with a girl, and so I have to be pure and chaste and then one day be married. Right? Well, everything's fine. Woo. That's right. I don't smoke or drink or chew or go with girls that do. That's right. And so with this belief, though, let's go on the chain here. I had these thoughts, and it created these beliefs. Thoughts, I need to be right for you. I need to do everything for you. And if I don't, you're going to be broken and bad, and it's going to be my fault. That led to all these actions of perfect, need to be perfect, need to be right. And so what my habits were is I never put myself in a bad situation like a bar or a crazy party or something like that. And I also, my habits led to these results of I can't share my real struggles, because what happens if I shared with you my struggle?
You're not perfect.
I'm not perfect, and if you knew my struggle, what would you do? You would probably do that and then get messed up, and it'd be my fault, right? And so because of that, I was basically pretty lonely, and me and my loneliness, and people never really knew the stuff goes on. I had this result of people would say, "Hey, you're doing such a good job. You're such an encourager," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm doing it right," and it validated my beliefs that this is what I'm supposed to do. But my life sucked. That was the only downfall. It's like I was alone, I was lonely, I was unsatisfied, all these things that I really wanted to do, I couldn't ever do. And so I had this one thought that changed my life. And I think any workshop, anything you do, any talk you go to, including today, if you can take just one thought and actually assimilate it, metabolize it, and do something with it, it could change your life. And here was my one thought. Instead of I'm responsible for you, my thought became maybe I'm independent of the good or bad opinion of you. I'm independent of the good or bad opinion. Instead of I'm responsible for you, meaning I need you to think good of me, it shifted to I'm independent of the good or bad opinion of you. And what that did for me, that one thought, that I repeated over and over and practiced with for years, is that it equipped me to love people more intentionally. It equipped me to really be there for people in an unselfish way. Because I needed you to be happy. I needed you to say, "Hey, that was a great prayer. Hey, you're such a good servant. Hey, wow, good job out there with that sermon," or whatever it was. And if I didn't get that, I did whatever it took to get that from you. And in that way, I was using people. Totally using people. Because if you didn't feel good, I felt bad. Now, if I'm independent of the good or bad opinion of people, that leaves me to go anywhere that God wants me to be. Were people mad at Jesus occasionally? Heck yeah. He was independent of the good or bad opinion of you. He's like, I'm seeking hard after God. God's opinion, that matters to me. Yours doesn't at all. Sorry. You don't like this? Beat it. You know? You don't get the message? Good. I said it to you so you didn't get it. Score, right? That's what Jesus was like. Which is like hardcore, right? But how great is it, the people in your life that you know are doing what they do, not trying to smooze you or sell you or trick you or convince you, they're just doing what they do. It's like there's a level of respect for those people, and you know, hey, they're sincere. And so it changed my life completely. That's my intro. You want to add to it?
Only in that, as you were describing the old you,
yeah.
I felt compassion and a bit sorry for the weight that you must have carried.
Super big weight.
Right? It feels like this giant mantle of weight, of responsibility that was really inappropriate and too much that he was carrying, and how often we do that to ourselves. We carry and take on, right, expectations, family expectations, others' expectations, society's, cultures, put them on ourselves, only to then see now you as you are and go, oh my gosh, you really are free.
Freer
than you were, right?
Freedom! Right, today's about freedom.
Right. And so freer than you were, and now it seems like it makes you, in a cool way, what I call dangerous. In other words, you're able to be and do whatever you're feeling led to do, which really, if we're talking about making impact, you're free to make impact now.
That's right.
Outside the expense of others. So that's awesome.
It's like Aslan from what's the book again? Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Yeah, Chronicles of Narnia.
Chronicles of Narnia, right. They're talking about Aslan, and they're like, is he safe? And then they said, oh no, he's not safe. What was the full line?
Tame. It has to be a tame lion.
Is he tame?
No, but he's good.
Lion. He's good.
But he's good. That's right. He's not tame, but he's good.
Yeah.
And and I think that's what we want. We think we want to be safe, but you don't really want to be safe. You want to be a part of the adventure. And if you're not making the adventure, at least you want to be with somebody that is making the adventure. That's what I think that's what guys confuse about getting the girl. The girl doesn't want to just be got. The girl wants to be a part of something. And if you have a guy that just wants to get you and the life is all just about getting you, you're like, that guy's a loser. You know, get a life. But then there's this jerk that has this big thing. He's like this big persona and he's going for things. And he's like, yeah, you want to come? Fine, whatever, come along. And the girl's like, oh, okay. And it's because...
How do they say it?
Okay.
All right.
And the nice guy's like, why does the jerk get the girl? You know, it's like, well, because it's bigger. He has a life bigger than the girl.
Invited you to an adventure.
Yeah, stop being such a nice guy and have a life, buddy. No, I'm talking to myself. Before, but now, what am I, babe? Handsome and adventurous and a warrior. That's right. So, let's look at the wheel, and it's breaking the wheel. So this morning I had the kid in one hand, in my arm, Oliver, and I had hot coffee in this one. And I'm walking, and I thought, you know, oh, I need this hand. I'm just going to put it in this hand that's free because I have Oliver swinging. And instantly I thought, boom, Oliver, spill, scalding hot coffee on my, and scarring my kid for life. And I'm like, babe, listen, you got to be careful with the coffee. You know, she's like... I'm like, oh my gosh, that could have been a fight right now, right? So I had this thought, and it created this belief, like, oh my gosh, if we do this, it's going to scar my kid for life. And I'm thinking, she's going to carry him, obviously, like this somehow, and she's going to have that same thought, obviously, because I'm thinking it, everybody thinks it, right? Of course. And then this action that I had in my life was, I had this belief and this feeling of dread, like, oh my gosh, we're going to scar our kid for life, and my action was to say, hey, listen, don't scar our kid! And I had this, if I wouldn't have caught it, you can see how this could be the making of a fight. It's like a normal, everyday fight. And she's like, listen, you're the idiot that had the coffee in your hand. Why are you... No, she didn't say this, but imagine how easy it could be to be in this fight. And it comes from these weird thoughts that we have that would... For me, I'm just trying to protect my child. Right? Don't you want to protect
and if you
my
don't
child?
interrupt that wheel, we end up wanting to bubble wrap our children, especially our first kids usually.
Yeah.
We just want to bubble wrap them and try to protect them and keep them safe. And I remember my niece, Tori, was so much around my mother, her grandmother, because they lived with my sister lived with my mom for a while. My mom was a warrior. And some of Tori's first words were, you be careful, Tay, which was, you be careful, okay? Right? But that was her, because that was what my mom was. You be careful, okay? It was like, Mom, you know, why is Tori learning, you be careful, Tay? Because Mom's always saying that, and if Tori's thinking that, then Tori's what? She has to be, like, afraid too, because she has to be careful. Because something is out there, right? And that can create long-term dysfunction.
Well, it's what Glenn said earlier. It's love or fear. There's two wheels out there. So the wheel of misfortune is our wheel that stems from thoughts that have to do with fear. And fear comes, really, the natural inclination from fear is to protect yourself. Which, you know, if there's a lion out there going to eat you, it's probably a good thing to protect yourself. But if there's no lion and you protect yourself, what happens is you live in a hole. And you're missing out on all the good stuff in life. So breaking the wheel of misfortune is really acting in love versus acting in fear. Because both of them have a wheel that you start to go. And today's going to be four steps to break the wheel of misfortune, really shifting from fear to love. And it's a choice, and it's not going to happen automatically. It's actually a habit that you have to make. Because right now, if stuff's going on in your life that you don't like, it's because you're in the wheel of fear. It's preservation. And the more you try to preserve yourself, the more you become a mummy, right? Risk is scary. You actually might get hurt, but that's where life is. Preservation is blocking off from the world, and when you block everything off from the world, things that are living, they die, and they stink, and they get gross. It's like that. So, first blank. The most important decision that you have to make in life and to decide is, do I live in a dangerous or a friendly world? Friendly universe. Dangerous or friendly? Einstein said that. And if you believe the world is dangerous, what are you going to look for when you walk around?
Danger.
Danger. That's what happens with people coming back from war with PSTD. Is their nervous system is tuned to listen, look, feel, sense danger because they're going to die almost every day. They're in like a legitimate scenario like that. But when they come back, even though they know cognitively that there's no danger, their body doesn't know that. They're still tuned to it. And it takes a lot of work. Sometimes they never get out of it. They never get free of that. And when you're looking for danger, guess what you find? Danger. You find it. If you have any friends that are cops, they will, like, boom, watch that guy. Like, walk around. What's going on in that car over there?
Everyone's a suspect.
Everyone's a suspect. If you look for danger, you're going to find it. Now, the other side is true. If you believe that the universe is friendly, what are you going to find?
Well, friends.
You're going to find a lot of friends everywhere you go. And so that's what today's about, shifting. And it starts with your neighbor, right?
No.
No, is
I think that we said that somewhere else. It starts with me.
That's right. It starts with you. And the good news about that is it's really challenging to change your neighbor or your wife or your husband. It's really challenging to change these people or your in-laws. Mine are sitting over there.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. However, it is less challenging, but not less difficult to change you. And what I mean by that is it's still hard, but it's doable to change you. Possible to change someone else. So let's go through this today, breaking the wheel of misfortune. Number one, it's hard to change your beliefs, but you can change your speech. That's the first belief. Our first step one there. It's hard to change your beliefs, but you can change your speech. The Bible says out of the mouth comes the overflow of the heart. It's like this revealing thing. It's like whatever's in here, your real beliefs, you're going to talk about it. And people will say things like, I just can't trust you. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that. What I really meant, and they'll change it. But actually, your speech is very revealing. I did in the coaching, in the like church world, and in like the self-help world, and in the corporate world. I do all this coaching, and I just listen to people and repeat back what they said. And they're like, "Wow, you read minds." I'm like, no, just listen to your words, bro. People reveal what they really believe by the words that they use. Out of the mouth comes the overflow of the heart. It's so true. And it works, too, if you reverse engineer it. If you start to change how you speak, you will start to change how you feel. And even your body posture will start to change. We're interrelated. You can change your posture, and you can change how you feel, too. And your words follow suit. And so if we could just change how we speak, our beliefs have to follow suit eventually. So here's some...
People in recovery talk about their thankfulness list, right? That they just start to write things they're thankful for. And, in recovery, there's that committee. And so making that list or speaking the list, right, is one of those steps that you're talking about is, I may not feel it yet, but I'm starting to change it by how I say it or write it. And then that affects my beliefs.
Yes. Has anybody got some of Keith's bookmarks? Have you seen those bookmarks with all the I am?
You guys see the true identity stuff, soul renovation, where we do all of our identity in Christ.
Right? There's a bunch of things that can come up for you when you read these things, like I am more than a conqueror, and all these crazy statements. Like you could think, wow, this seems weird. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's not in line with your crazy stinking beliefs right now.
Right.
Or you could start repeating them every day until they feel right.
Yeah.
So thankfulness, like he said, that's one great thing, and it starts with you being thankful. One of the hardest things that maybe someone could ever do is look in the mirror at their own self, in their own eyes, and tell you love you. Has anybody ever done that?
In the mirror?
Has anybody? Yeah. Has anybody ever thought, if you've done that, like this is really weird and I don't like it? Because I did, and I'm like, this is weird. I don't like it. Yeah.
Liar.
You're like, looking at myself, telling you I love you, but I don't really love you. I have a lot of work to do on you, is what I'm thinking. Speech. If we were just to do that simple thing, start speaking words of blessing to yourself. Because if you were blessed, if you were full, if you were loved, if you were created and beautifully made by a perfect God, well, what would that person do with other people? And how would that person react with other people?
Practical step. Go out today, get a notebook, or grab a sheet of paper, right? And find somebody else, a friend or a family member or whatever. And just say, hey, today, each day for this next week, let's keep track of 5 or 10 things or make a list. And before we go to bed, let's talk on the phone, text them to each other, or speak them to each other. Just do it for a week. Okay?
I like that.
That's just one practical, simple, make a list, right, of your own. Have them make a list of their own. Speak them to each other. Do it for a week. And just notice. Just notice if the feelings of something changes. Okay? Things you're thankful for that day. Good things that happened that day. Things you noticed.
10 a day?
10 a day.
That's good.
That's one practical. You don't have to do it, but this is an option.
Yeah.
A real practical opportunity.
Yeah, and if you really want to go with step 1 here, you're gonna start talking about it.
Yeah. Right. Speaking forth. Like make
Speak
the
'em.
list and then say it to another person.
Saying 'em,
That's
yeah.
like practice saying them.
So that's step 1. It's hard to change your beliefs, but you can change your speech. Step 2, it's hard to change the world, but you can change your opinion. That's number 2. It's hard to change the world, but you can change your opinion. And what's interesting to me is that the things that are going on with our life, there's always a reversal that has to do with love. The things that feel bad has to do with fear. Whenever you feel bad, feelings are fantastic indicators. They're a lot of times feelings are horrible masters, but they're wonderful indicators. They really will indicate where you're at, what wheel you're on. If you feel bad, you're on the wheel of fear. You're in that wheel. But if you feel good, you're in the wheel of love. And remember, your wheels start with your thought. It's just thought that you repeat. So you can create a new wheel just by start thinking of a new thought. And that's what today is really all about. And so it's hard to change the world, but you can change your opinion. So for example, if I'm in frustration, the flip side of that is fascinating. So if I keep on getting frustrated about stuff, I can just keep on saying, how fascinating, right? It's like, oh, wow, I just yelled at my wife for almost scalding my child and deforming him for life. How fascinating, right? Oh, wow, I feel totally overwhelmed with work because I think I still have to take care of everybody. And, my work results, it makes me successful or not successful in life in general. Wow, that's a great burden I'm carrying right now. How fascinating. And you start thinking about the things that you're frustrated about and just flip it to fascinating. It's actually the same stuff. Love and hate is actually the same stuff. It's just a different perspective on it. Because you can't hate somebody unless you have a lot of emotional investment in it. If you have zero emotional investment and somebody calls you a name, and a stranger calls you up and says, I'm leaving you. You're like, wow, okay. Well, who are you again? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. But if someone you love calls you up and says, I'm leaving you, or I cheated on you, wow. It's because it's the same stuff, but it's just the opposite. It's the other side. It's the other wheel. It's the fear wheel. So turn your frustration into fascination. Turn your fear into excitement. If you go on a roller coaster, and people are like, yeah, roller coaster, you get on, you're like, ah! I almost died. It felt like it anyway. It was so cool. Now, you're on the roller coaster, and you look in front of you, and one of these little things that should be bolted is now unbolted, flipping around. And you're like, ah! I'm going to die. And now instead of excitement, I have fear. It's the same exact stuff, except excitement is you're off the fear wheel. Now it's just exciting. You're enjoying the ride, which for life, that could be a great metaphor for life, right? Instead of being fearful, I'm going to be excited. It's like, wow, we're on the peninsula, the 4th of July. I might get, a shot.
Blown up.
Right. Stephanie's like, it's true.
Excited when like you're worried about all that.
That's right. Well, and worried. I'm worried about it because now I'm thinking about all the bad stuff that can happen. Now, it's not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. Here's one thing to know about all this. Wherever you're at, it's great. It's okay. But the more you are aware, the more you're aware of where your feelings are coming from, the more freedom you have to get out of it when it's not serving you. Because if you have a little kid, I'm worried about his health, I'm going to start paying attention. Could that be a good thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not going to carry my coffee with the same arm I'm carrying the kid. That's a good lesson. But yet, when he's 18, I'm like, hey man, Did you brush your teeth today? Listen, bro, gingivitis.
It's a real thing.
It's a
man.
real thing. You know, I'm not talking to you unless you brush your teeth. And like he's like, you know, I'd rather just not come around because my dad's a little intense. Yeah. Right? At that time, that same good thing when he's a baby is not serving me anymore. And if I'm aware about it, I can shift. I can get off it. Awareness is beautiful. So, 1 Corinthians 12 talks about, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but I will know fully. So, become more aware of what's going on, because right now life is really an adventure. And we're in this part of life before we pass on to eternal life. That's kind of like an adventure. It's like, hey, it's meant to be looking through a glass dimly. It's meant not to know all the turns. It's meant to be exciting and fun. And if you can see it as an adventure and know that you're going to be okay, that you really have a big God, that really, when Jesus said, hey, with God all things are possible, he was like serious. He wasn't saying, hey, it's like a story, it's kind of like this, but it's not really true, but I don't know how to describe it. God can do all things. No, like he was really saying that, and God really loves us. And hey, have more fun with this thing, because we got a lot of good stuff going on.
What I hear in that is just how much faith, though, is required, right? For me, not to live in fear and just do it in my own strength feels impossible. But in this whole journey of entering the wheel of love, living in the wheel of love, there is a faith required for me to rest in, put my weight of hope in, a power. For me, it's a loving God as he reveals himself over and over and over again. And when I add that faith component, that's what helps me not live in fear. For me to overcome fear on my own is impossible.
Yeah, I might hear a number of things in this.
Turn around. So
Yeah. So, I'm thinking of, in changing habits, one is when you do things the right way, it's going to feel really bad when you start. Like, so I play competitive tennis, and if I'm going to teach someone to change a stroke, I kind of have to decide. They ask me to help them with their serve, and you kind of have to decide if they're really into it, because it's going to be really bad when you change it. It's not going to work. It's going to work worse than the one they're using right now for a while. And so there is that time of when you change things, it feels really, really awkward. Our kids that come into our transitional housing program out of foster care, when they get into good, loving environments, it scares them, because they don't know what to do.
Who are these kids? Just so people know when you say these kids.
They're former foster kids, so that they've lived in multiple homes. They've lived in really dangerous, dysfunctional families with all this danger going on, and so they're kind of PTSD in that.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. They frequently what will happen is they will try to blow something up. So they get in this safe relationship, and then they're going to test it. And so even one of my kids that I had in youth ministry, he was wired that way. And so the first thing, when I first met him, he was just like, hey, is this little angry New Yorker sort of kid from here? And he was going to proactively be a jerk so you wouldn't like him, so he could control the way things work. And I had to consistently love and work against that and try to overcome that. And over the course of years, he's one of the guys that we text each other and call each other and say, I love you, and care, But when you're first in this, it's really confusing and upside down when you're trying to change something.
A couple things there. The first thing, the last thing you said was crazy. You say, tell them I love you. I was just talking to Carolyn about this. I tell my friends I love them. And at first when I started telling like a guy I love you, it was really weird. And like, I'm like, are you going to say you love me back? Okay, you did. And that was even weirder. But I was kind of, saying, this is weird. But I love that though. And then, but let's go back to your kids. You have this thought. This is too good. This is weird, or maybe even too good to last, or I don't know what to do with it. So maybe it's not real. It's probably one of these first kids thought, this is not real. This isn't real, so my action is I'm going to test it. I'm going to test it to see if it's real. I'm going to be a jerk. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to be distant. I'm not going to make any appearance of enjoying the beauty that you're introducing me to, or the appreciation or love that you're giving to me. No reaction from me, because I need to test to see if it's real. And then you get in this habit of being just a hard ass, really, because they don't want to get hurt again, really, and they get a result of people pushing them away because they're like unappreciative and like violent sometimes, and all these things, and then they say, I thought it was the case. I thought that was the case. I knew it was unreal, and so I'm going to be more hard right now. I'm going to push you away even more, and then you're going to get this, it's like...
Yeah. So here's one of the lessons you learn out of this. Find those really, really loving people, and get around them.
Yes.
Those people that are unconditionally loving, they show up in really odd places sometimes, and they definitely aren't, certainly aren't only in church. Frequently they're outside of
That
church.
surprised me, actually.
In fact, some of the best people I found to be around for my soul were people... I met this lady who ran the modeling agency that Cheryl Teagues was part of. And she struck me as kind of a madam, like the lady who ran the House of Prostitution. But she was unshockable and had this earthy unshockableness where you felt you could say anything and it would be received.
Yeah.
And those sort of people are really good to get around. Those people who have that unshockable quality of love and they might even be a little gruff, but they love. And they aren't shocked. And I found that those people but you kind of have to find those people.
You do.
And you have to look through your relationships. You also find people that will reinforce the dark story and that you've been in a dance with on the other thing. And sometimes you have to get out of those dances.
Yeah, you got to break up for a bit. We have relatives, right? Like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's just I'm not going to participate in that dance anymore.
Yeah, and here's something new to know. Have a lot of grace for these people because they really are doing the best they can. That kid that Glenn's trying to help, man, they went through things that kids shouldn't have to go through, and now they're just trying to survive. But when you're trying to survive, are you on the love wheel or are you on the fear wheel?
Survival fear.
Total fear. Total survival. And what happens is you end up blocking everything else out of the world if you're in survival because you don't want to get hurt. But you block out the bad and you also block out all the good. And so, hey, you love them the best you can, and you gotta really put the mask on your own face first before you can help somebody else, if you can use a flight analogy. So, number one, it's hard to change your beliefs, but you change your speech. Number two, it's hard to change the world, but you can change your opinion, which is what we just talked about. Go from frustration to fascination, go from fear to excitement, go from hate to love, go from... whatever the shift is, it's right there. Number three here, turn your frustration into fascination.
Oh, so that one should have been 3. I accidentally added 1. That was a bullet point.
That was a bullet. Oh yeah, that was a bullet. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry. Number 3 is a bullet for number 2. Turn your frustration into fascination. And so real number 3 or number 4 in your outline is, it's impossible to stop your thoughts, but you can stop for 20 minutes. So here's something to know. Just like people are doing the best that they can, guess who else is doing the best they can? You. Give yourself a break. Stop beating yourself up. You're like, oh, I've been trying to do this for 20 years and I still suck, or whatever it is. What I've noticed is the things that get me today, there's an element of the thing that's always been getting me throughout the years. This nice guy thing that I have, or really wanting people to like me and doing things for that. It still comes up for me in these weird ways. I'm like, oh man, how many times do I have to learn this lesson? It's so funny. So give yourself a break.
Repeat number 4, did I get that right? It's impossible to stop your thoughts?
Yes, but you can just stop for 20 minutes. So let me explain that. And this is a bullet on meditation. The Bible talks about in Psalm, well, it just mentions in Psalm 46, be still and know that I'm God, which is a small verse, but it's really powerful. Because if we were just to be still and know that God is God, what has to be done in those moments?
Be still.
Be still. So what are you doing when you're still?
You're still.
You're still. That's right. You're not doing anything. You're not trying to fix it. You're not thinking about what you should be doing when you do start to do stuff. You're not thinking about what other people are supposed to be doing while you're trying to figure out what to do to fix the stuff. You're stopped. And it comes back to what Keith was saying. It's like, have a little faith that God really does love you and God really is all powerful and that God really is in control. All of these Christian platitudes that I put down and we put down that we don't really believe, but just test it out. And meditation's a beautiful thing. Now prayer is great too, but meditation, I'm making a distinction in that, is that you're not telling God what he should be doing in times of meditation. It's literally try to stop doing anything. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. The chemical makeup of your body changes. Cortisol levels drop. Endorphins are released when you just take a big breath. And if you get in tune with your body, you'll be able to feel like tingly sensations when you take a big breath. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been practicing be still and be grateful.
Such a wonderful thing. Like even just a word.
When I can't think of anything to be grateful for, just be still and be grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful you're still.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Be grateful you're still.
Be grateful you're still. Yeah. So take a moment. Let's take one. I want to take one breath here. Do it with me. And here's the purpose of the breath, right? So try to be relaxed as you can. Put your arms, let them loose. And notice your body when we do this. And see if you notice any chemical change in your body or tingling or anything. And what she wants you to do is take as big a breath as you can and then release it as slow as you can. All right, let's go. What you find is if you do that just 10 times, you'll feel a difference in your body. You'll feel a difference. You'll feel muscles relax that you didn't know were tensed. Like weird muscles in your face and in your mouth and in your, around your temples and your shoulders. And you realize I've been spending so much extra energy just existing, tiring me out. And what you may notice, which what I've been blessed with, is, wow, God's taking care of me when I do nothing. In fact, God might be able to take care of you better if you do nothing. Maybe.
As we were doing that, I thought of this song that we sing, It Is Well With My Soul. Just in that one breath, it just like a flood came over me. I just thought, it is well with my soul. Just breathing.
Wouldn't it be great to have an exhilarating life? What does exhilarating mean? Does anybody know?
To exil?
Yeah, it actually is. We're gonna.
No, I don't know.
What does that sound like to you? Have an exhilarating life. Would you like that? Anybody? Full life, exciting.
Full life full of exhilaration.
Yeah, full life. It's exciting. Hey, this electricity. Woo, awesome, right? You're the pretty girl at school that everybody wants. I'm not trying to be a girl. I don't know why I keep saying that. But wouldn't it be great? Here's what exhilarating means. It means to breathe out. That's what the word actually means, to breathe out. Release control. Release it. And know that all you got to worry about is the next thing. There's a great exercise called the placemat exercise that Abraham Hicks, as a teacher, talks about doing. And the placemat exercise is you list everything that you can do on the left, and then everything you can't do you list on the right. And on the left you say my stuff, and on the right you say God stuff. So on the left, breathe out. Got it. Brush my teeth. Call people back when they call me. That's about all I can for sure do. On the right, take care of my kid. Make sure I'm not poor. Make sure I don't scold my kid and deform him for life. All this stuff. And have God's side be God's side and start trying to do things you can't do. And just do the things you can do. It's a beautiful thing.
All right, last one. We got time real quick?
Last one, we got time. Oh, shoot, man. This is a big one. I don't even know if I should go there. The 3 P. Oh, so I'll basically, it's on your outline. It's hard to change the things you look at, but you can change the way you look at things. So the last 2 blanks are way you look at things. Martin Seligman goes into the 3 P's of optimism, and there's permanence, persuasiveness, and personalization. So this is how it works. If something bad happens, there's a pessimist versus an optimist. The pessimist is going to be intentionally trying to be on the wheel of love, the pessimist is intentionally looking out in the wheel of fear because they're trying not to get hurt. It's not a bad thing. That's just where they're at. An optimist is always intentionally trying to stay on the wheel of love because they're like, hey, the other side doesn't really work. Yes.
Okay, I say I'm a realist. Where am I in that?
That's your story, and it's a beautiful one. We're all making it up anyway. It's a beautiful thing to be a realist, which might be in between. But just for the sake of the talk, we'll put them in 2 sides. So here's what the pessimist will say. If something bad happens, the pessimist will say, permanence. This is going to last forever. Pervasiveness. This is how my whole life is, not just one bad thing. And personalization. This always happens to me. For an optimist, though, they'll say something bad happens. Permanence. This is just temporary. Pervasiveness. It's only happening for this one single thing. And personalization. Hey, it's not necessarily just me that's making it. It's just happenstance. I'm not the cause necessarily. Well, if something good happens, let's look at these 3. Permanence. Something good happens and you're a pessimist, you're going to say, hey, this is not going to last. It's going to go away really quick. Pervasiveness. You're a pessimist, something good happens, you're like, well, this is just in this one area of my life. The other areas of my life, they still are dangerous and stinky, and it's not going to carry over. And the pessimist will also see something good happening and say, I didn't do it, I was just lucky. Versus a optimist, if something good happens, they're going to say, hey, this is going to last forever. It's just like all the other great things in my life. And you know what? This is a result of all the things that I've been doing every day until now. So, to wrap it up, getting off the wheel of misfortune. Wheel of misfortune. Take a notice of your thoughts and just be fascinated. If you could just do that and be fascinated, what's going to happen automatically is you're going to become more aware and you're going to be interested in how you get these feelings and how you do these things that keep on getting you in trouble. And if you're aware, at that moment you have a choice to do something different. So be fascinated and give yourself a break. You're doing the best you can. And so are the people around you.
Amen. Awesome. Thanks, Jovan. Well done, huh? Thanks so much to put all that in 2 weeks. 2 weeks of talks to take all of our thinking. Well done.
We'll keep them for one more day.